Hello and welcome back to Traversing the Cosmos. My name is Fola and I'm excited. Today we're going to talk about Gemini season and all it has to offer. We're going to go through an overview as well as individual sign breakdowns and gene key cards. If you are new to this space, know that it is one where everyone is welcome. And if you are returning, I appreciate you, old friend. Let's dive into it, shall we? First off, shout out to my Geminis. Happy birthday, Geminis. This year, Gemini season is going to take place May 20th through June 20th, and it is going to be oh so sweet. We've got an amazing, inspiring, and clarifying Sagittarius full moon. We've got the Sun and Venus working together, making magic and amplifying our curiosity. There's a lot going on this Gemini season, and I can't wait to get into it with you. But first, I want you all to grab your birth chart, okay? As we talk about the transits that we're going to experience, I want you to be able to relate them back to your birth chart. Is a full moon happening on top of a planet that you have or a fixed point that you have in your chart? Is a full moon trining or squaring one of your natal planets? It makes a big difference on how you experience the energy. Is there friction involved or is it harmonious? Is there a nice little sextile in there? Is there an opposition? Is there going to be a push and pull, a choice to be made, or a compromise to be struck? I also want you to take a look at any points or planets that you may have in Gemini, okay? Because we've got Jupiter entering Gemini, we've got a lot of activity happening, and this Gemini season is going to kickstart a renewal of that Gemini energy. It's going to kickstart a surge. You know, for me, my IC and South Node are in Gemini, which brings up themes of personal karmic evolution. So, what's being activated for you? What planets or points do you have in Gemini? If you don't have any planets, look at the house that Gemini is ruling for you. That will allow you to understand what area of your life is being activated. What area of your life is being infused with this Jupiter energy of expansion? We're going to talk about that too, how it shows up for everybody. But first, let's start with this overview, shall we? Now, we're not going to talk about absolutely every transit that happens, because some of them are fairly common transits, but we are going to talk about the larger ones, the bigger ones, the more exceptional and rare transits that are taking place. And the first big one that's going to take place is the Sag full moon happening on May 23rd. It's coupled with a lot of transits, so we're going to have a lot to process during those few days, okay, of the height of the energy. It's going to be happening at 2 degrees and working with Pluto. And on the very same day, Venus is going to conjunct Jupiter at 29 degrees. It's then going to sextile Neptune in Pisces. Jupiter is then going to sextile Neptune in Pisces. And then Venus will enter Gemini. There's so much energy swirling around, but the things that are sticking out to me is Venus being conjunct Jupiter at 29 degrees of Taurus. Venus rules over Taurus. It rules over Taurus energy, which means Venus is actually ruling Jupiter right now, and they are coming together at the literal last degree of Taurus energy, which is super powerful, super potent. This is comfort and stability and luxury and peace of mind, well-being to the max. Venus and Jupiter want you to have something here. Actually, they want you to have everything. And then they're coming in and working with Neptune to get it to be the thing that is actually aligned with your highest self. They're working with Neptune, the dream weaver. Now, you do want to make sure you don't overdo it and stay away from illusions because Neptune can be tricky. But grounding yourself and tapping into what your higher self has for you. That's this energy. Being able to see the big picture, the long goal. What does your spirit want for you? That's what Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune are looking into. That's what they're providing a glimpse into. They're amplifying this full moon. And Sag is the big picture. He always sees the big picture. He's the wisdom bringer. And then shortly after this full moon, Venus is then going to move into Gemini, and she is going to search for the answers that she needs, for the solutions that she needs. She is going to go out there and get to work. She is going to learn everything that she needs to bring her vision to life. We will talk about this energy more in depth in the next episode, and we'll talk about how it's showing up for each sign. But if you'd like to get a head start, there is no shame in doing so. Check your chart. Where is 2 degrees? There we go. Where is 2 degrees of Gemini and Sag? Where does that show up for you? Now, the next major shift in energy is going to be when Jupiter enters Gemini on May 25th. Jupiter in Gemini is going to be a year-long transit and lasting until June 9th, 2025. During this time, we are going to be students of life. That's Gemini energy. It's all about being curious, finding the answers that you need, fixing problems, being a problem solver. It's about mingling. It has no biases. It wants to hear everything. It wants to hear all sides of a situation. It gathers information, and that's what's happening. We're hitting our toddler phase. We're building ourselves up. We are adding to our creations by being playful and inquisitive. We're mingling. We are finding the right people to partner with, the people that share our interests. We are stimulating our minds and gathering the tools that we need to create even more stability in our endeavors. Now, be wary. There is a tendency to be overactive in Gemini, especially with Jupiter in Gemini, because it's an amplification of that energy. Jupiter expands everything it touches. And so because Gemini is the sign that can do all the things at once, it's thinking about everything, all the angles. It doesn't like to slow down. With Jupiter in Gemini, you can find yourself getting really exhausted. You can find yourself with monkey mind, overstimulated and fried. And even more importantly, you can find yourself non-committal and flaky. So worried about figuring out what everyone else thinks that you forget to commit to something, or you are afraid to commit to something. So take the information in, hang out with people, but don't forget who you are and what your purpose is. Try to minimize the amount of time that you get sidetracked this year, okay, while Jupiter is in Gemini. Not too shortly after that, Mars is going to conjunct Chiron in Aries at 22 degrees. And this is pretty interesting because Chiron is in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. And then Mars is also in its home sign of Aries, and they're coming together. And this feels like the completion of the journey, the completion of the renovation of self. There's a potential to really dig deeper into our motivations, to know why we are going for the things that we want, where we have been circumvented before in the past, and how we're going to get over that. There's nothing that can stop us. There's nothing that we can't work through. This is the work. This is the healing. It's the energizing. Mars conjunct Chiron in Aries feels like such a salve for a deep-seated wound. Today may be a day that you have to really bare your soul And maybe it's not even in an emotional way. Maybe it's in a way of recognition, understanding just how to move forward with deeper authenticity woven into each step. Mars and Chiron also give healing sexual wounds or healing wounds of feeling attractive or lack thereof, actually. How do you feel about your appearance? How do you show up in relationship? What is your relationship with your body? And how do others mirror that relationship? A few days after that, Jupiter is going to trine Pluto. And there is something so yummy about this. There is something so important about these two energies, Gemini and Aquarius, working together in this way. This transit comes around once every 6 years and is a regeneration on how we expand in our lives and expand in our own personal wisdom. This transit asks us, what can Gemini energy do for you? How can taking on the energy of a Gemini in an area of your life bring you closer to expansion, bring you more power and understanding and depth? Where can you be more open, more curious? How can you try to see both sides of a situation? Where can you learn to laugh things off? This transit is going to illuminate an area of our life where Gemini energy is required in. Just a few days later, Mercury is going to enter its home sign of Gemini, and Mercury is ruling over all of the planets that are in Gemini right now. This transit is short, sweet, but very, very active. And while Mercury is in Gemini, you're going to have the perfect opportunity to get all of the answers that you need, to speak to the people, make the connections that you need to make, and be open to any suggestions that are given to you. After that, the sun is going to conjunct Venus in Gemini at 14 degrees, leading up to the Gemini new moon happening at 16 degrees, working with the sun, the moon, and Venus. And this is a nice little sweet spot that we have here, okay? Venus in Gemini is literally the life of the party, okay? She's here, she's there, she's everywhere. She's talking to everybody. She's having fun. She's making plans. And she's working with the sun and the moon. So not only is your mind being stimulated by things that are opening you up to ways to garner the security, the finances that you need, as well as the audience that you may need to get something rolling, to get something started, to get the ball started, and to bring more attention and visibility into whatever it is that you're doing. She's also working with the sun that is pushing you to actually take action, to make the moves, to strategize, to do the networking, to fix the problem. She's got you working out the kinks to any issue with debonair, honestly. It's very smooth problem solving. Smooth operator. That's what I keep hearing. Smooth operator. This Gemini season is a wonderful time to go traveling, which I will be doing, but it's also a wonderful time to network, make connections, get out there in the field and meet people. It's interesting to me because you look at the planets and the way they line up and the way they switch signs, and everything is always so perfect and planned, because literally right after we do the thing where we are curious and we're seeking answers, literally right after that, Mars is going to go into Taurus, and we are then going to be able to implement the groundwork. We're going to be laying the foundation for whatever it is that we're bringing to life, for whatever it is that we are creating during this time. Mars in Taurus is a time to slow down significantly, okay? Mars does not like being in Taurus. Mars likes to go fast in Aries. In Taurus, it kind of gets stuck in the mud. And you really want to avoid feeling bogged down, or at least going down the rabbit hole of feeling bogged down. When Taurus energy is prominent, you really want to relax into the energy and go with the flow. You don't want to push the pace when it comes to Taurus because it usually causes frustration. Okay, so with Mars and Taurus in this uncomfortable position, what you need to do is take a look at everything around you. This is the perfect time to solve problems. Take your time with it. Make sure that you don't cut corners. Make sure that everything that you are working through and working on, the foundation is laid impeccably. Ask the questions, do the research, talk to the people, and then take the time to actually implement what you need to. It will save you a whole lot of trouble later, I promise. Well, actually, you might run into that trouble in a couple of days, okay? You know how earlier I was saying, well, not earlier in this podcast, but in a different episode, I was saying that everything that enters Taurus is then going to square Pluto because, hello, we're going into a new era. Mars square Pluto is a pretty nefarious energy, and that is what's happening a little later on. I believe it is June 11th. It is June 11th. Mars is going to square Pluto at 1 degrees. And this is going to be a bitch. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. This energy is super fucking frustrating, okay? It's Taurus, it's Aquarius, it's fixed signs. It feels like neither side is budging. You may come up against a problem on this day that is almost impossible. It's not impossible because nothing's impossible, but this shit is going to be difficult, okay? And there's going to be a blockage of energy. There may be something that you feel like is stripping your power away from you. This is going to be a period of time where you need to rely on that flexible, mutable Gemini energy to get you through this. If you allow two opposing factors make you come to a standstill, well, that's not the purpose of this day. The purpose of a square is to jump over the hurdle. And you jump over the hurdle by using that Gemini energy, by being adaptable, by soaking up information, looking at things from all angles, not by digging your heels in. Mars is giving it up to Pluto, okay, in this transit, in this interaction. Usually Mars is the more powerful planet, but with Pluto, it is going to take the back seat. So, Mars in Taurus is being reprogrammed by Pluto in Aquarius. It is being forced to do something different, to come at something at a different angle, to say no to something that you have accepted previously. Pluto in Aquarius is going to force us to forge a new way. And a new way we are going to find, okay? We've got the Mercury Cazimi coming up a couple of days later, which is Epiphany Day, especially when Mercury is ruling over Gemini. It's lovely. This is Mercury times Mercury times Mercury energy, okay? So this is a wonderful day to write a dissertation, to join a class, to read a book, to write a book. It's a wonderful day to jot down everything that happens, every epiphany, every idea and thought that comes to mind. Write it down because you never know. Even if you use it a year from now or 2 years or 3 or 4, this day is going to be supercharged with messages. Mercury is going to be working her ass off and having a blast doing so. And Venus is not too far from the Sun and Mercury still. So it's sweetened a little bit. All right, and the last couple of things that are happening in Gemini season that I find to be interesting is that Mercury and Venus are going to enter the sign of Cancer, one right after the other, and then they're going to conjunct each other at 0 degrees. And there's something so juicy and intuitive about this. There's something so intuitively adept about Mercury and Venus working together in Cancer at 0 degrees. That to me says follow your body. Your body knows everything. Follow your gut. It says to me that we are only thinking about things that we truly care about, that mean the most to us. We're not talking about frivolous shit. We laid the groundwork and now we are making a home for ourselves. Metaphorically. But this is a check-in. A serious check-in with how we feel about what's going on in our lives. Go with the first answer that comes to your mind about any situation, because when we talk about this Cancer energy, it knows. It doesn't have to think. It immediately knows. Yes, no, maybe so. This is a time to see if what you have in your life is the thing that you want in your life, or if it needs to shift. Like I said, this is individual to you because it's wherever your Cancer energy is lying. Say it with me, y'all. Make sure to check your chart. All right, we've gotten through the quick overview, and now we're going to talk about how this is showing up for each sign, and we're going to pull some cards. We're going to get into it. Without further ado, let's start with my Aries risings. All right, Aries. You are having a 3rd house transit. Jupiter is entering your 3rd house. Mercury and Venus and the Sun are going to be working in your 3rd house. The full moon is going to be in your 9th house. And Mars is going to be working in your 2nd. Pluto in the 11th. So what this says to me is you are going through a period of time where you have to realize what is your voice and what is somebody else's. What knowledge do you need and what are you acquiring because you don't have confidence in yourself? What does your voice actually mean? And who wants to listen to you? Who's your audience? And how much are you worth? What are you building in your life that is sustainable? And how do all of these things come back around and feed into your broader sense of life, your broader wisdom, the big picture for you? Your big picture is coming together slowly, but do you realize it? Are you moving intentionally, or are you just moving? The gene key you're working with this Gemini season is number 33. The shadow is forgetting, the gift is mindfulness, and the city is revelation. So be mindful about what it is that you are doing, how you are moving. Never forget who you are at your core and what your purpose is. Next up, Taurus risings. You guys are going to be experiencing a 2nd house transit, okay? Jupiter is in your 2nd house. The Sun, Venus, Mercury is in your 2nd house. Pluto is in your 10th house of career. I love that for you. There's a lot going on. The full moon is going to be taking place in your 8th house of death and transformation, and Mars is in your 1st house of self. So you've got a lot of energy going on this month. You've got a renewed sense in how you can create money, a source of revenue in your life. And that source of revenue is actually going to inform what you can do new in your career, the next steps that you can take. This season is all about thinking outside of the box to garner revenue, to garner stability, and to incorporate your talents into making that stability, making that coin. Now, with the Sag full moon, you may be questioning any partnerships that you might want to take on or you have taken on in the past. You might also be thinking about getting loans for your future endeavors. But really, this season is all about figuring out exactly what you want, trying all different kinds of stuff, mixing it up. And through curiosity, through play, through experimentation, possibly coming up with a new life path for yourself, a new career option. Your gene key is number 53. The shadow is immaturity, the gift is expansion, and the city is superabundance. And all this wants you to do is to let go of the past and launch yourself into the future. Embrace everything that you once were. Don't deny it, but don't hold on to it either. This is a time of immense growth for you, Taurus. You need to take it. You need to allow yourself to move past who you have seen yourself as before, how you have operated before, and let yourself grow. This Gemini season, you are moving beyond your comfort zone. And I love that for you, Taurus. Gemini risings, you are up next. And this is a huge year for you. Not only just Gemini season, but Jupiter being in Gemini is going to be a major energy signature for you all year long. But specifically for this season, you're going to be dealing with a first house transit. The Sun, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, they're all going to be working in your first house of self, of the body, of the identity, of how you see the world and how the world sees you. Jupiter is also going to be working with Pluto in Aquarius. That's in your 9th house of wisdom, philosophy, and spirituality. Mars is going to be in your 12th house of isolation, which is kind of a rough transit to have. Mars in the 12th house, it can be really reactive and it can be a time where you can get very frustrated. Okay, so just be wary of that. And the full moon in Sag is obviously happening in your 7th house of relationships, of friendships. And this is interesting to me because it feels like there is an expansion happening in your life that is shining a light on who isn't really for you. And not just who isn't for you, what isn't for you. Okay, there's going to be so many options available to you during this season and throughout this year. And that's really your job, is to have discernment. Yes, the Sag full moon is going to shine a light onto your friendships and the longevity that they have in your life. The gene key you're going to be working with this Gemini season is going to be number 12. The shadow is vanity, the gift is discrimination, and the city is purity. And that is what you're working towards, purity of self, being true to yourself. You don't have to have it all. Life doesn't have to be messy. It can be very simple. And simple is good if you are choosing the right things. This Gemini season will give you the opportunity to strengthen your inner knowing and ability to discriminate what is genuine to your authenticity, what is for you, what do you believe in, and what has been brought along by other people. Pluto is in your house of philosophy and wisdom, and it's helping you build a narrative of your own. Cancer risings. This Gemini season is going to bring you a 12th house transit. And I just feel like there's this need for finding inner peace, okay? Having Gemini rule your 12th house of the subconscious mind means that your alone time can get very hyperactive, okay? And with Jupiter entering this house, it's going to amplify that. So you really want to focus your time on finding inner peace, finding the slowdown, not letting yourself being torn from one thing to the next. And with Pluto in the 8th house, in its natural house, you're going to be dealing with your own sense of power. What is it that you don't talk about? And why don't you talk about it? Does it make you feel less powerful? Do you care about what people think about you? Mars is in your 11th house of social groups and networks. And so you're going to be doing a lot of groundwork in your relationships. And that can bring up conflict, especially if you are not at peace within yourself. The Sag full moon is going to be happening in your 6th house of work and everyday habits, routines. And so there's this push and pull, this balance between how you are taking care of yourself, how you're taking care of your mental, how you're taking care of your mind and your space, and how that can bleed into your relationships, how that can bleed into the way that you speak to yourself and to others. Are you overworking yourself? Are you trying to make everybody happy? Where and possibly in what rooms do you feel less powerful in? How can you embrace all of your perceived weaknesses and move forward with confidence and with a greater sense of peace, of being at peace with who you are? The gene key you're going to be working with is number 6. The shadow is conflict, the gift is diplomacy, and the city is peace. And it says, emotional maturity means that your awareness operates even during the most profound emotional states. Part of that awareness comes from sitting with yourself, comes from journaling or meditating. It comes from giving yourself time to process life, to process your interactions, how you feel. So, during this Gemini season, give yourself the space, give yourself the attention and the time, and sow a seed of inner peace. Leo risings. Gemini season is going to bring you an 11th house transit. Jupiter is going to be in your 11th house. Pluto is going to be in the 7th, Mars in the 10th, and Sag full moon in the 5th. And this looks like so much fun, all right? You are going to be hyper visible this season. And honestly, Gemini being in your 11th house and Jupiter being in Gemini, your social groups are going to be off the chain. They're going to be lit for the next year. But specifically this month, there is a shakeup in your relationships, and it's relating back to your career. Right now, you're working to build more stability within your career, within your life path, and you are networking in order to do so. Pluto being in your house of relationships, your 7th house, it's giving you a glimpse into how powerful and or destructive your relationships can be. It's making you choose how you want your relationships to go and dropping the ones that aren't working out and deeply investing in the ones that are. And they might need to change a little bit because we're talking about Aquarius, right? They might be more connected to where you want to go, to what you want to give back to the world. And the Sag full moon is going to show you that it can be a lot of fun. It doesn't have to be so serious, even though you are talking about something that is very serious, how you are seen by the world. The gene key that you are working with is number 40. The shadow is exhaustion, the gift is resolve, and the city is divine will. And what that means is you can't just plow ahead without giving to yourself. You know, that's how we create burnout. You need to find a way to have fun doing the things that you're doing so that you can keep it up and make it sustainable. Like I said, Jupiter is going to be in your house of social groups. You're going to have a lot of activity going on when it comes to people and groups of people and making sure that you are not only serving other people, but that you're giving to yourself so that you can keep the engine going, and knowing that you don't always have to push. You can have fun and let it be divine will. Let your creativity blossom. Let your friendships and the relationships that you make blossom. Let your career blossom. You will know when it's time to put your foot on the gas, but also knowing when it's time to hit the brake and allow, that's very important. And I'm going to bring it back to Pluto being in your 7th house of relationships. Not everyone is good for you. Some people just want you to do for them. And it's the same thing when you talk about networking and colleagues. You have to make sure that you're finding symbiotic relationships and not overdoing it in order to get ahead. Virgo risings. Gemini season for you is going to usher in a 10th house transit. And with Jupiter entering your 10th house as well, your career is going to be booming. There's going to be a lot of people that you're going to be dealing with, a lot of information that you're taking in. You're going to be learning a lot, rubbing shoulders with people. This is a great time for your career. And with Mars in your 9th house, you might be taking it abroad or maybe just not in your immediate vicinity. You might be traveling for work. Or you are not just processing the information that you're learning, but you are building a foundation of what you believe about the world. Or even how you want to live. Pluto is in your 6th house of daily routines and habits and work. And there is a strengthening happening in this house for you. What do you want to do every day? What keeps you going? What keeps you sane? What keeps you feeling healthy? And how can you balance the wisdom that you've learned at home with what you'd like to share in your career? And I can't stress this enough. There is a need for answers, it feels like, but it's okay to not have them. The gene key that you're working with is number 24. The shadow is addiction, the gift is invention, and the city is silence. And that's where some of our best work comes from. Not over-processing or overthinking, but being quiet and contemplative. By ending our search for information and allowing what already is to simply be. You don't necessarily have to know where you're going or all the other answers. But you do need to know who you are, what you believe, what you stand for, and that you are divinely guided. Libra risings. Gemini season is going to be bringing you a 9th house transit. Jupiter is going to enter your 9th house of spirituality, wisdom, philosophy, traveling. Jupiter is home in the 9th house. And that is a double down of expansion, abundance, of deep inner belonging and knowing. And that is a major theme for you, Libra. The South Node is still in your 1st house of self, and you've been doing a lot of work on weeding out the issues, weeding out the things that have been drawing your energy from you, the things that are not true to who you are. And this Gemini season, you're going to be given the opportunity to truly expand what you know about yourself, the world around you, and what you're no longer going to accept from other people. The Sag full moon is happening in your 3rd house, and it's going to encourage you to speak up for yourself, to talk about how you feel. And you're not going to be holding back, okay? Mars is in your 8th house of secrets, of things you don't talk about, of taboo stuff. And so it's energizing you to feel more comfortable and to take more pride, I guess, in all that you are, in every bit of you, even the deep, dark secrets, even the things that you don't want people to know. Everything that you do goes into the making of who you are. And there's nothing to be ashamed of, only things to learn and grow from. And with Pluto in your 5th house, it feels like you are taking life a little less seriously, like you're undoing some of the programming of always focusing on how to keep the peace and make everyone else happy. No, Pluto is saying, what makes you happy? Giving your inner child a spotlight, allowing yourself to shine, allowing yourself to be playful. That's a powerful thing. And Libra, I think you're learning that what you believe means more than anything else. Your sense of self-worth matters. Your values matter. Your fun matters. Being comfortable with yourself matters. The gene key that you're going to be working with is number 18. The shadow is judgment, the gift is integrity, and the city is perfection. And Libras, this is about judging what comes in and out of your life. from the heart. This gene key does away with self-judgment and cruel criticism of others and invests its time in bettering out of love. Libras, you're learning to take it easy on yourself and to give yourself grace as you step into a deeper sense of power. You're getting there. Oh, and there's also an opportunity to meet a lot of new people. This entire next year would be a wonderful time to travel for you. You're expanding your horizons and having a blast doing so. Scorpio risings, Jupiter and Gemini season is bringing you an 8th house transit. And the first thing that popped out to me is that there is a potential to make a lot of money this year, okay? And not necessarily by yourself, but through joint ventures, through partnerships. This whole year is going to focus on what you share with other people. And so is this Gemini season. Scorpio, your relationships are going to take center stage. Pluto is in your 4th house of home and family. Mars is in your 7th house of one-on-one relationships. The Sag full moon is going to be taking place with your 2nd house of value and self-worth. And like I said, this is an 8th house transit for you. There's a lot tied to your foundations, how you relate with people, how you make money, where your self-worth comes from, how your home life has spilled over into your relationships and into the way that you think about yourself and your self-worth, into the way you partner. Scorpio, the gene key that you're working with is number 29. The shadow is half-heartedness, the gift is commitment, and the city is devotion. And it's asking you to think about what you really truly care about. There's no room for being 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Half-heartedness is the shadow. It's showing up and being consistent even though you are not devoted. It's doing half-hearted work. It's being in half-hearted relationships. This Gemini season is going to want you to be your most powerful self, and that means putting yourself out there. It means mingling. It means saying yes to life, saying yes to what inspires you, to what you're passionate about, and saying no to everything else. No half-heartedness. No more allowing things to multiply in your life that aren't representative of who you are and what you want. No more operating as the old version of yourself or even the younger kid version of yourself. You're going to be an adult. You are going to drop the things, have the courage to say no to what you need to say no to, and have the commitment to double down on what you love and stick to it. I know you don't have an issue with that, Scorpio, but that's what this season's bringing up for you. There's a regeneration happening, and I can't wait to see you on the other side. Sagittarius risings. You guys are having a 7th house transit for this Gemini season. Jupiter is going to be entering your 7th house of relationships, and you're going to be meeting a ton of people. Not just this Gemini season, but this entire year. But specifically this season, you're going to be focusing on your relationships, being authentic to who you are within those relationships. Pluto is in your 3rd house of communication, and so you're going to be strengthening your voice as well. Mars being in your 6th house and recently going through a shakeup means you're going to be implementing new routines into your life. You might be working a new job or joining a gym, and you're going to be meeting a bunch of new people. And like I said, the goal is to be true to you, be your most vital, vibrant self, and resisting the urge to hold back. This is a time to speak your mind and to live boldly, but without expectation. The gene key that you are working with is number 58. The shadow is dissatisfaction, the gift is vitality, and the city is bliss. And bliss is found when you are true to who you are and carefree about it. So Mix, mingle, have a good old time. And don't shrink for anybody. This season has you strengthening your relationships by being your full self and attracting the right people in. Capricorn risings. This Gemini season, you're going to see a 6th house transit. Jupiter is going to be entering your 6th house of health, routines, of work. So you may find yourself to be pretty busy during this time, working, not just that, but playing as well. Mars is in your 5th house of creativity, and that means your inner child is cooking something up, and it might be coming out in your work, in your everyday. You may be implementing your creativity as a routine. And that is going to trickle into your 2nd house of money, assets, talent, and self-worth, which is where Pluto is. Pluto's reworking how you value yourself and what you spend your time on. And that Sag full moon is going to be lighting up your 12th house of isolation, of imagination. There's time, ample time during this Gemini season for you to delve into your creative depths and implement new structures in your life that allow your creativity to bloom and blossom, and that allow your wallet to grow a little bit. The gene key that you are working with is number 21. The shadow is control, the gift is authority, and the city is valor. And what that tells me is that you may also be taking on a leadership role at work. You may be in charge of speaking to the masses or disseminating information. And it also tells me that while you are working to find structure in your routines, while you are working to actually make your routines a little bit more flexible, maybe, while you're working to find your balance, there is a need to let go of control, to be, to gather information from the group, to have fun, to play around, and to patiently wait to rise to any occasion that shows up for you. This is a great time to join a sport, to get healthy and to get active, to have a physical outlet for your creativity. Aquarius risings. Gemini season is bringing to you a 5th house transit. Jupiter is entering your 5th house of creativity, fun, dating, playfulness, being a child, and children in general. This energy is so expansive and fun. This season, you're going to be playing with others and learning a lot as you do so. There's a lot of activity happening around you right now, and it is all in the spirit of playfulness. And it's interesting because Mars is in your 4th house of home and of nostalgia, of your past self. And so there's a lot of work being done to build up your foundation of who you are, especially with Pluto being in your 1st house of self and how you see the world. It's going through a transformation and regeneration that it's starting. And then your Sag full moon is going to show up in your 11th house of friends and social networks. So it just feels like there's an emphasis on the people in your life and the good times that you have had in the past and the ones in your future, and how you take pleasure in your life. This time is not going to be difficult, okay? The gene key that you're working with is number 16, versatility. The shadow is indifference. The gift is versatility, and the city is mastery. And the message of this gene key is not to take life so seriously, because as long as you play, as long as you gravitate towards the things that you're interested in, you will always be building up your skills, be building up your knowledge and your talents. You are born to be versatile. You are born to be everything that you want to be. So do not box yourself in, and listen to your heart. If you truly feel indifferent about something, not that you hate it, but that you don't care, then it has no purpose in your life. Apathy is the opposite of passion, and passion is what keeps you going. It's what keeps you growing. And as long as you are always adaptable, flexible, and encourageable, you will find yourself a master of this thing called life. Last but certainly not least, my Pisces risings. This Gemini season is going to be lighting up your 4th house. Jupiter is going to enter your 4th house of home, the inner child, your family, and it's going to be expanding that area of your life. So this could be a time where you move, or you have family, or hang out with more family, you know? But this could also be addressing how your inner life reverberates out into your outer life, because we're talking about that full moon with Gemini and Sag in 4th house and 10th house. Jupiter is expanding your inner world. Pluto is also working to bring power to the mind, to also your inner world, because this is 12th house of isolation, of imagination, of what we do when we are alone. And then Mars is in your 3rd house of communication and education. So what I'm seeing is there is not an explosion, but there's definitely a growth happening in your inner world, in your home life, with the way that you've always existed and felt comfortable in the world. There's expansion happening there. You are driving power from your subconscious mind. You are also speaking about it with Mars being in that 3rd house. And guess what? The full moon in your 10th house, once again, is going to have you speaking your truth, turning knowledge into wisdom, sharing your thoughts, sharing your ideas, and in turn, bringing you here to do what you came here to do. Sag is your 10th house of career. You are meant to speak. You are meant to lead. You're meant to give back. Which brings me to the gene key that we're working with. It's number 27. The shadow is selfishness. The gift is altruism, and the city is selflessness. And what we learn through this gene key is that giving ourselves away is a way to come back home. Being of service to the whole is actually being of service to ourselves. So, what have you been learning? What knowledge can you give away for free? What knowledge have you learned from your family and the people who've been in your life the longest? And what wisdom have you comprised during your alone time, during your time of contemplation, during your analysis of life? Are you spending that time alone? You should be. There's valuable nuggets to be gathered from your subconscious mind. It's time to be the biggest version of yourself and to truly allow everything that you do to spill over into the world for its own greater good. What can you give, and what can you give from the heart? All right. We made it to the end. Oh, if you're still listening to this voice right now, I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody else as well. But if you made it all the way to the end, you're literally a whole rock star. I will be back very shortly to talk about the transits that we're going to experience in the first little part of Gemini season. So stay tuned. Keep a lookout. But yeah, I hope that this was informative for you. I hope that this could open up your eyes to not only what's happening throughout this Gemini season, but also how to read your chart, how to look at the planets and how they're mingling and interacting together, and how to kind of read it for yourself. I go over the houses and the energies, not just so that you can listen to me, but so that you can be your own mini astrologer so that you can kind of get a read. Now, if you want a deep reading, still come to me. Website will be launching soon, tomorrow. But yeah, I think it's very important for us to be able to at least eyeball the astrological transits for ourselves. So yeah, hopefully this helped. I appreciate you. Don't forget, you belong. And until next time, bye. Bye now.